Peace, peace, peace. Once again, I want to thank everyone for participating. And I want to first greet everybody with the greetings of peace that's participating in this podcast. And I want to thank everyone in advance for your participation, for your listening, for your questions, comments, suggestions, etc. This is one that this subject, actually, the topic, religious women versus spiritual women, goddesses, etc. This was a subject or podcast that I actually was going to broadcast earlier on in the week. You know, due to the fact that I forgot a few things and being busy and running around, et cetera, it got postponed. But nevertheless, here we are now, and it's a topic that needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed because it's something that now, I have some notes here and I have some bullet points, but I am going to go from the top as much as possible again, because when I speak from the heart, it comes real. It connects from my heart to your heart. It doesn't sound scripted. But anyway, this is a subject that needs to be addressed because we often see it a lot in the quote unquote conscious circle, or the black, if you want to call it awareness circles, or do you want to call it conscious, woke, knowledge of self, whatever you choose to call it. We have two dynamics, or we have a dynamic of women. Actually, it's more than two, but the two main ones that I want to focus on is we have the religious woman who, when I say religious in this context, I'm speaking specifically of the Abrahamic traditions, the strict patriarchal Abrahamic traditions, versus the goddesses, the spiritual women, the free spirits with, what do they call themselves? A human, I'm a spirit having a human experience. I'm a spirit body having a human experience, whatever the case. But anyway, and what often happens is, as men, especially if we don't know any better and we're still blue pilled or we're in a purple pill stage, we can get confused. I'm saying we because I don't want to put myself above my brothers, number one. And two, I myself have actually been affected by this and fallen victim and suffered from this. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to say we. When you reach a certain level of knowledge and awareness and discipline and just a certain vibe in your overall life, you can see some of the things that, the errors that you may have made, and you can see the errors that others make, and you want to warn others. But anyway, so what I'm going to first begin with the religious women, quote unquote, versus the spiritual women, quote unquote, is I'm going to begin with the pros and cons. I'm going to be balanced in this because I'm not going to make this praise all one side and bash all the other side, because there are some pros and some cons on each side with each dynamic. But we're going to start with the let's start with the spiritual women. Okay, let's start with some of the pros of the spiritual women. Okay, some of the pros of what we call the spiritual women or the goddesses, right? They're usually appealing to the eye. And to be honest with you, that's probably the only pro to the spiritual women, the goddesses. And everything else usually is just a challenge or a con, but that's usually the only pro that comes with the goddesses. They're appealing to the eye, and they're also appealing to as by way of sound. They know how to speak in soft ways that can actually appeal to our masculine nature as men. And this is where we have to be careful, right? So that's some of the pros of the spiritual women, right? So I'm going to get into the pros and the cons of what comes with each. Now, the cons that come with the spiritual women, okay, if you want to call them cons, you can, but this is a matter of perception, but I'm going to keep it real. They often come with a lot of baggage. Yes, they tend to be beautiful to the eye. They got the locks in their hair, the namaste, the ashe, the ancestors, the burning of the sage, and the spiritual talk. And, sometimes as men, if you're going to compare that to the bull dagger, the aggressive hood rat chick. You know what I'm saying? The masculine woman. That's a slam dunk. Yeah, the spiritual one, right? But let's look at the cons that come with that. Because usually now I'm not comparing the spiritual woman to the aggressive masculine hood chick, hood rat, but in this context, the aggressive masculine hood rat usually is more forthright with hers because she's not refined. She's not what's the word I'm looking for? She's not she hasn't been taught grace, you know. So it's usually what comes up, what comes out, and you don't have to worry about deception as much as you would with the quote unquote spiritual chick, the quote unquote goddess, the quote unquote virtuous chick. Okay, so going back to the virtuous chick or the spiritual chick rather. So she'll appeal to the eye. And in fact, I'm gonna give you the perfect example. Erykah Badu. Now I know some of y'all gonna get mad because Erykah Badu is some of y'all favorite Hotep goddess, right? But I'm gonna keep it real. Erykah Badu's a ratchet. She's a ratchet. And what comes with a lot of the spiritual chicks, and as we can see, if you bring us back to Erykah Badu, they often have a whorish past or a whorish history. And this whorish history, you know, them slinging around a box, they slinging around the punani, you know, just no male family leadership. That's really the root of the problem, is that they were reared with no male family leadership and they don't respect masculine leadership. In fact, they see patriarchy or male family leadership as evil and oppressive. So because they see it as evil and oppressive, they reject it. And we all know what comes with women who reject male family leadership. Beat up pussy, used up pussy, poorly mismanaged pussy, pussy that comes with trauma. Oh, you know what? I'm not going to tone this down. You know what I'm saying? Children, if you listen to this, turn this off, go watch Barney. Well, Barney not even on no more. That shows how old I am. But go watch whatever's popular. I don't know, Dragon Ball Z, or go watch some cartoons. This is not for you. You're not going to understand. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, what comes with women that were not reared with respect for male family leadership is these are women that come with lots of trauma. You know, they haven't had the protection that comes with male family leadership. So they've been from relationship to relationship to relationship to this situation to situationship, et cetera, et cetera. They got beat up, had a few abortions, maybe got pregnant a few times, miscarriage, STD, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of baggage that often comes with this. And now because we see the baggage that comes with, let's say the spiritual chick's name is, what's a typical spiritual chick's name? If anybody listening wants to comment, add on, what is a typical spiritual, conscious, woke goddess's chick's name? I can't even think of one right now. Well, let's just say her name is Flowery Sekhmet. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Let's just throw that out there. Before she became Flowery Sekhmet, she was Tamika, right? And she was Tamika without male family leadership, who was taught to actually despise male family leadership and reject it. So she hasn't had the protection that comes with male family leadership. So she's been through a lot of trauma. So because she's been through a lot of trauma, it's physical trauma, mental trauma, spiritual trauma, and especially womb trauma, you often see the spiritual chicks or the goddesses, quote unquote, healing a lot. They say that they're healing. They're always healing. Everything is about healing. Okay, Amiyama says Felicity. Okay, Felicity. We're going to roll with Felicity. So, Tamika gets a little woke. She reads the ISIS papers or burns a couple of incenses or read the Malcolm X autobiography or whatever. Maybe read Message to the Black Man, or she reads some conscious book, and now all of a sudden she's woke. Or she might have watched some YouTube video with some Hotep hustler on there preaching, and now she's woke. Maybe it's Polite or Sarah Seti. So now she's woke. Now she's Felicity. And Felicity wants to, she's aware that she's had a lot of trauma, a lot of baggage that she's carrying. So she's speaking about healing often. The spiritual chick often takes a lot of wound detoxes. The spiritual goddess often uses and talks about jade eggs and stones that she puts in her vagina that's supposed to remove demons or, things of that nature, remove evil spirits or remove, I guess she's exorcising demons out of her womb or her vagina through the stones or the rocks, the typical stuff the spiritual chick does. They burn the incenses, the sage, but they're always talking about healing. And there's nothing wrong with healing if we've been wronged, or if a person's been damaged, or if a person's been abused and they need healing. But the difference between the spiritual chick goddess versus a normal person is that they're constantly talking about healing. There was healing in 2008. There's healing in 2018. They still healing in 2021. It's like, chick, all right, how long you been healing? You know what I'm saying? When are you going to say that you've been healed? When are you going to move on? When are you going to now enjoy life and live a normal life and have fun? Why is you still healing? What kind of drama you been through? Like, you've been healing for that many years? You must have went through some shit. And usually she has, because she's rejected male family leadership. Now, here's the thing with the spiritual chicks. Now I'm going to get into the religious women, the pros and the cons, right? The spiritual woman, the goddess, because she's speaking of healing and she's learning about affirmations and positive energy, which is beautiful, right? But she's using it because she's healing, and she's healing because she's been broken. She's defective. And because she's expressing this healing energy and this spiritual, mumbo jumbo or babble, whatever the case is, as men, because if you're not careful, that can often, because that's a surface appearance or a surface expression, it can often cause us to misunderstand that or misreceive that and think this is a virtuous woman. No, she's healing because she's been damaged. And why has she been damaged? Is because she rejected male family leadership, which opened her up to abuse and being damaged by defective beta males. So now she's angry at men because men did this to me, men did that to me, men used me, men abused me, blah, 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 blah. However, you rejected the male family leadership, the upright masculine guidance from the jump, because someone told you, the devil told you, that it was oppressive, that it was, it robbed you of your freedom, so to speak. It was too strict. So you abandoned your protection, and that from men, that protection that would have came from men, upright, what we would call alpha or God, alpha males. Some men get upset with the use of alpha and beta. It's usually the beta males that get upset behind this. You know what I'm saying? But we're speaking about now upright masculine men on a God frequency. She rejected that because she felt she was too good for that, or no man, she was better or than the men or smarter than the men or what have you. Then she got abused by the beta males, and therefore she throws all men in the category of the beta males that abuse her. Okay, let's see. Let's go through some of these comments before I continue. Amiyama, mashallah. Yes, continue teaching me that Arabic, girl. All right. Fali Wakwan, salam Allah. Allah salam, God. I wonder if this is a brother I'm familiar with that might have changed his name. That greeting I'm definitely familiar with. I'm not familiar with the name. I'm assuming he might be a brother that I already know, maybe just with a new name. But salam anyway, definitely. Or Allah salam. So let me continue on. So usually the spiritual chick or the goddess comes with a large body count. She comes with a whorish history. Oftentimes she's a single mother. Oftentimes has multiple baby daddies, But because she's around gynocentric matriarchal men who were taught to worship vagina and worship pussy, they, put the woman above them. They don't see anything wrong with that. It's perfectly fine. In fact, they see it as a good thing. They say, oh, she brought all these babies in the world by all these different men. She's a blessed woman. No, she is not. See, that's your matriarchy talking. That's the simp coming out of you talking. That's blue pill energy all over that. In fact, I am going to go to the Holy Quran speaks about that type of man. It describes him in chapter. What chapter is it? It describes him in chapter 4, Surah 4, which is Anisa, the woman, ayahs 116 and 121. In fact, I'm going to go right to it. If y'all hear the ice cream truck in the background, don't worry about that. You know, this is summertime or springtime is coming. You kind of would hear that. But anyway, let me go to that verse. All right. So it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It says, surely Allah forgives not setting up partners with him, masculine principle, and he forgives all besides this to whom he pleases. And whoever sets up partners with Allah, he indeed goes far astray. He indeed goes far astray. So it's talking about a certain type of man that's going far astray. Listen to this carefully. Besides him, they call on nothing but female divinities, goddesses, and they call on nothing but a rebellious devil whom Allah has cursed. Pause. Goddesses. So ayat 117 in Surah 4, the Holy Quran, Al-Nisa, it mentions goddesses, and it identifies the goddess with a rebellious devil. So usually when you see goddesses or women who think they are gods, female gods, goddesses, what have you, or they think that they are above and beyond masculine or male family leadership, these are women without divine, natural, masculine protection. And because they're not protected by God, meaning the men in her family, so her man that she answers to is a devil. Listen, women answer to men. All women answer to men. I don't care what kind of woman she is. If she calls herself a feminist, then she answers to the white man, especially if it's a black feminist. If she calls herself anything independent, then she answers to the man on her job, or the man that owns the job, or the man that owns the company that owns the job, so on and so forth. But all women answer to men. And if she's not answering to upright men, meaning male family leadership, upright male family leadership, then she's following or answering to a devil. And if you follow and worship someone who's following or answers to a devil, you are doing the same thing indirectly. That type of woman, the goddess, she's leading you to the devil. So I'm going to read it again. It says, besides him, they call on nothing but female divinities, goddesses, and they call on nothing but a rebellious devil whom Allah has cursed. And he said, certainly I will take of thy servants an appointed portion. And certainly, listen carefully, I will lead them astray and excite them in vain desires and bid them so that they will slit the ears of the cattle and bid them so that they will alter Allah's creation. And whoever takes the devil for a friend, forsaking Allah, he indeed surely or suffers a manifest loss. So y'all brothers that are matriarchal and that are on this black woman is God and goddess stuff, you're actually following the devil because he set up that matriarchy. Yes, it was Lyndon Johnson. If I'm not mistaken, the year was 1960 or sometime in the 60s that actually established the matriarchy, what we know today, or the matriarchy that we see today in the matriarchal black ghettos. When he instituted the civil rights or the, I can't remember the exact name of the act, but I think it was the Civil Rights Act and the Welfare Act and this and all these different acts for the inner cities that would incentivize and fund families as long as there was no father figure in the home. And I've seen this growing up. You know what I'm saying? Some families are smart. Some families are hustlers. The father was there, but they was, they was eating off the system too, and the male family leadership and providership. So they was getting from the government and the man, even though I disagree with that. A family and a woman should be totally dependent on a man. But I'm just telling you what I saw growing up. Sometimes the caseworkers would come around into the house to make sure there was no man there. The man sometimes would hide in our apartment, or sometimes a man would hide somewhere else. His shoes would be hidden. All evidence of a masculine presence or man's presence would be hidden inside the home. So that way, when the caseworkers came, they saw, okay, cool, no man here, you could continue getting benefits. But the motive behind it was to rid the families of male family leadership, which we're going to get into that later, the detriments of rearing families without male family leadership. Okay, so yeah, That was set up to deliberately destroy the natural order of things in the black family, to mentally destabilize the man, the woman, and the child, particularly the children. And these children will grow up and become destabilized adults because there was no male family leadership. There was no father in the house, right? So now these children are taught to see women as the authority. And when a male authority, let's say it's a police officer, comes and tells him to, hey, pull over, let me see your license, he's going to fight the cop, or he's going to resist, because he was taught, I don't have to respect no male authority. I was raised by my mama. My daddy ain't tell me shit. Ain't no man was inside the house telling me nothing. No man can tell me nothing. So the children are literally raised with the mentality of Iblis, which can be found in Surah 14 and 15 of the Holy Quran, where Allah told the angels to bow down to Adam, who was made out of black mud. He told the angels to bow down to him. You know what I'm saying? After he breathed his spirit into him. And it said the angels, they all bowed, but Iblis did not. And when Allah asked him, well, why didn't you bow down when I told you to bow down with the rest? He said, I would never bow down to a man. That was Iblis's mentality before he became Shaitan. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so he wasn't with this whole idea of male family leadership. That's the Iblis, or the Shaitanic mentality. So men who actually worship women, yeah, I'm talking about you mama's boys, you simps, you cucks, you dudes who put pussy on pedestals, you actually devil worshippers. I mean, that's who your leader is. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, continuing on, right? It says he promises them and excites vain desires in them, and the devil promises them only to deceive. That's what Lyndon Johnson did. Their refuge is hell, and they will find no way of escape from it. Okay, so I'm going to close on that part. So, brothers, when you deal with these goddesses, no, I would say don't deal with them at all. I don't even want to give you advice saying when you deal with them, you got to be careful, you got to go about it this way. Don't even deal with them at all. You know what I'm saying? Not even as concubines, not even as courtesans, you know? Don't even, just fall back. It's not worth it, you know? It's not worth it. Okay, what else? What else? So, yeah, don't fall for the soft voice. You know, don't fall for don't fall for the feminine outer exterior expression, because true femininity lies within. It really has nothing to do with the exterior. You know, some women, some of the most masculine women that I know, that I've met my entire life, have some of the most softest and most feminine outer exteriors. They may have had the softest voices, the hair, the nails, all of that. They had feminine gestures, hand motions, and things of that nature, but there was nothing feminine and submissive or even agreeable about them. You know, so no, you don't want to deal with them at all. I'm saying this from experience. Now, yeah, you don't want to let the soft appearance. We don't want to let the head wrap. We don't want to let the peace, namaste, brother, the incense, the soft music, the long robe. You don't want to let none of, you don't want to let none of that deceive you, because underneath all of that is a whore. Now, unless you like whores, then go on ahead. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to get into the. We're going to get into that. Anyway, now going on to the religious women, the pros and cons. Okay. The religious women, again, when I say religious, I'm speaking specifically of the Abrahamic traditions, you know, Judaism, biblical teachings, or biblical Christianity, not that black church shit, you know what I'm saying? And Islam, you know. And when I mention these religions, the Judaism, the Christianity, or the Islam, I'm not speaking of the mainstream expressions that we see today that have been watered down, that have gotten away from their traditions, that have gotten away from their principles just to fit in and be accepted. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the real stuff. You know what I'm saying? But even in that, there's signs. But anyway, when you come across religious women, now people can talk junk about religion, say, oh, Africa didn't have that, those are oppressive religions. There was no Christianity, Judaism, Islam, all that stuff came by the white man, the Arab, blah, 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 right? You can see all of that, which I can shut all of that down too. But anyway, when you're dealing with quote unquote religious women, oftentimes you are interfacing with women who were reared with male family leadership. This is if they were going according to the tenets of their religion. You know, they were reared with male family leadership, biological fathers. Unless the father or the husband or the mother passed or she was widowed and she remarried, that's something different. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about baby mamas, yeah, it's a total difference from that. But women who were reared with their biological fathers, their biological brothers, and masculine, authoritative, upright, but righteous biological fathers, biological brothers. These are women that are used to and they know how to relate to male family leadership because they were reared with it. They were reared with it. So it's oftentimes you find yourself, if you are a man that is an authoritative man or upright, natural masculine man, you'll find yourself being able to relate to these women easier. Now, I know some simps are going to get on here and some of these feminists, and y'all gonna say nonsense like, "Oh, you want a woman that you can control. That's your problem." And you know what I say to that? Absolutely. What natural man wants to deal with uncontrollable women? Only a simp. What self-respecting man would subject himself to that? But anyway, so yeah, the women that were reared with their biological fathers, with Abrahamic, upright, biblical, or Quranic teaching, Torah, Talmud, Tanakh, what have you. These are women that, they know how to properly relate to male family leadership. These women often have shame, which means that they, for women, I call it shame. For men, I call it pride. But their shame will not allow them to do what would be the equivalent, what would be the female equivalent of sucker shit that guys do? Let's just say whole shit. Their shame won't allow them to do whole shit, at least not that easy, without it eating up their conscience. You know what I'm saying? Um, so they have feminine pride, which I would call shame. And when I say shame in this context, I'm not saying it in a bad way. It's actually a good thing. Shame in this context to women is what pride is in this context to men. The healthy shame, the healthy pride. So these type of women have more shame than the goddesses. The goddesses have no shame. In fact, the goddesses have no problem with their titties out. In fact, when you pay attention to spiritual women, they always naked. You ever notice that? When you pay attention to spiritual women, they're always naked. It's never, you hardly ever see spiritual women or women who identify themselves as goddesses or gods dressed modestly. They're always naked. They're always trying to appeal to men's lower desires. You know, as men naturally we're attracted to the female body, but if wise men that are on a higher frequency, if we see that that is what you are trying to appeal to us with, and not just me in particular, but men in general. I'm speaking for every man, upright masculine man. We see through it. We see that you're trouble. Yeah, it's natural for women to want to appeal to and please the man that she worships, the man that is her Lord. That is natural. That one man. It's perfectly natural. You know what I'm saying? But when she's trying to appeal to everybody, she for the streets. She for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So we often see goddesses just putting themselves out there to appeal to everyone. I don't know, maybe they're missing something, they're seeking something that they didn't get when they were younger, either because they rejected it or their mothers or societies took it away from them, which is male family leadership. So they didn't get that masculine male family leadership, they didn't get that protection, they didn't get that love as children. And now as adults, they're seeking it, but they're not seeking it in a child way. They're seeking it in an adult way, an adulterous way. Okay. Right. So goddesses often appeal to not just one man, but many men through the lure of sex. That's really all they have to offer. You know what I'm saying? Um, the quote unquote religious woman are usually covered. Again, they were reared often, and oftentimes, if we're talking about their family going by the tenets of the religion, they were reared with male family leadership, so they have shame, right, which is a good thing. So they're not going to just be naked or try to just throw themselves out there to multiple men, or even that one man like that. Even with that one man, there's a little shame there, like they're a little timid. Women, natural women have that natural timidation when it comes to men. That's if they're natural women. You know what I'm saying? So the covered woman or the religious woman, she'll be covered. She'll have male family leadership. She'll have some shame there. And this is not to say that they will be perfect, because again, nobody's perfect. And all women at the core, at their very core nature, are the same. You know what I'm saying? Um, how they were brought up, how they were reared, their customs, their cultures, their experiences. These things will shape their personalities, but at their core, female nature is generally the same. Um, what are some pros that will come with the religious women? Now, with the religious women, regardless of what her religion is, again, I'm speaking specifically of the Abrahamic traditions, she will have a foundation to which you can always bring her back to, or you can always, that foundation is there that you can lead her with. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you are versed in any one of those scriptures. And if you're really versed and you're talented and you're good at it, you could lead her quite well with it. The spiritual woman, usually when you see the goddess, they go from one thing, one way school of thought, to another, to the next, to the next, to the next. They tend to be all over the place. They generally tend to be all over the place. You know what I'm saying? What are some other pros? Oh, some more pros about the religious women. When women have shame, usually with religious women, again, if we're going to by the tenets of the religion, right? If they were reared in a religious family, and that family is going by the tenets of religion, you'll find these women are virgins, you know, or they haven't been around the block, so to speak. So because she's a virgin, her womb is pure. And because her womb is pure, let me see, go through some of these comments. Let's see. Fali Kwan, word is bond, indeed. Fali Kwan again. He said, I agree with everything you stated. Yes, and peace. That's what's up. And I want to state this. If there's anything that I state that any of your listeners disagree with, or were not clear on, or have any questions or comments on, please feel free to do so. This is not a monologue, This is a group build. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, the religious woman, if she was brought up according to the tenets of a religion, she's often going to be a virgin, or she's not going to be a whore. She's not going to have had all this trauma. So you're not going to have to deal with all of that trauma of a woman that's constantly healing, one. And two, you you come with a pure womb, right? So you can plant your seed inside of a pure womb. And you don't have to deal with the DNA or the residual effects of picking up the characteristics of any previous lovers. You know what I'm saying? So your children will be 100% your children. 100%. See, oftentimes we see why some fathers will say the children don't listen to me, all that, because your children are not 100%. They're not all your children. Mind you, this woman that you got pregnant, done been around the block, she got a body count that's damn near triple. You know what I'm saying? She got a body count. She's been with hundreds of men. Of course, I'm stretching it, but seriously, she's been with hundreds of men. She's been around the block. A lot of these men she's been with, they weren't all protected. Sometimes a condom broke, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, she's been with all of these different men, right? She got pregnant a few times, had children by different men. So she just been around the block. And because all these, the DNA of all these men are affecting her, right? They're going to affect that seed that you put in. So yeah, that's not all your child. That's also Pookie's child. That's Ray Ray's child. That's Demon Travis or Demon Tavius's child. Walmart Tavius. That's Junebug's child. That's all this. It's all their children. It's not just yours. So she's not going to. The children are not going to be 100% submissive with you. It's why when you look at the Bible, it says, what did Jesus say in the Bible? He said, I and the Father are one. When you see me, you see the Father. Why is that? Because my mother wasn't a whore that's been around the block, nor was she a reformed whore. In fact, she was a virgin. So I am 100% one with the Father. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah. Again, religious women aren't perfect. Nobody's perfect. You know, I'm just stating some of the pros. Now I'll state some of the cons that could come with religious women because there are some cons, right? Um, hmm. If you catch them when they're virgins, right? If you get them when they're virgins, the cons really shouldn't be much for you to get around. You know what I'm saying? It should be quite easy to deal with. But let's say you get a religious woman, and you know, um, what would be some of the cons of religious women? Okay, if she was taught her quote unquote religion or the way she believes by another man, let's just say he's another imam, or another pastor, or another minister, or something like that, right? That man's teaching, that man has programmed her with his software, so she's going to be programmed to identify with his software. Because she's programmed with his software, she's in line with his way of thinking, so technically that's his woman. Now if she's a virgin, right, and you take her virginity, you can actually reprogram her. You can plant your own software in there. You know what I'm saying? And now you can lead, and you can teach, and you can guide. You can mold her the way you want to mold her, right? But usually with religious women, especially if you get them from these religious houses, yeah, whoever their minister is, that's their God, that's their man, even if she never slept with him, because now she's going to argue with you, the man of the house, right, about what her pastor said, or what her imam said, or what her minister said. And if he's a good pastor, or good imam, or good minister, he would tell that woman, listen, yeah, I'm the minister of this temple or church or mosque or pastor or imam, what have you, but I'm not the man of your house. The man of your house, he makes the ultimate decisions. You know what I'm saying? That's what a good religious leader would do. You know what I'm saying? But as we can see, how many religious leaders we see do that? How many religious leaders we'll see actually tell the women of their congregation that your husband's word in that house reigns higher than mine. In fact, your husband's understanding of God is above mine. How many religious men, religious leaders will you get say that? I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any, you know. And this shows that, you know, in these houses of secondary information, as my elder Wildwolf would say, these religious houses, that they're really cults. They're not actually cultivating divinity in the people. They're really cults. A lot of the men, you know, take advantage. So that's one of the dangers of dealing with religious women. So if you want to get a religious woman, right, make sure she was reared by her family and not necessarily in the church or the temple. Because if she's coming from the church or the temple and she wasn't reared that way by her family, she's going to be serving two gods, meaning you and her minister or pastor or her imam or whatever. It's going to be two men in the house, and that's going to cause conflict. Right. So, but other than that, you know, when you weigh the pros and the cons of religious women versus the spiritual woman or the goddess, that is a slam dunk. If you are a man, that is a man that's on your purpose. If you are a man that, you know, has a plan, just doing things, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I want to get into the detrimental effects of matriarchy and goddess worship, and is what it has done to men, especially black men in America in particular. You know, wow, wow. Ultimately, what it has led to, what it is, it's the pedestalization of pussy. That's pretty much what it is. When you see men talking about the black woman is God, or calling women goddess, and doing this queen nonsense, usually these are men that are appealing to women not because they want to lead her in the right direction, but she has something that he wants, which is that pussy. Or even if it's not the pussy, it could be just the validation, you know. He wants her validation, or he wants her pussy. He wants something from her. And that is why he's peace queening, or he's peace god, and even worse, or he's this peace goddess stuff. It's not coming from a sincere place. And if it is coming from a sincere place, it's still not sincere because it's coming from a broken man. Yes, the man is broken. No natural man, and I'm gonna get into this, no natural man, right, is gonna see a natural man, that is gonna see a woman as being above him. I don't care how much money she has. I don't care how attractive she is. I don't care what kind of car she drives. I don't care what kind of degrees she has, what kind of education she has, certification, indoctrination, her social status, etc., etc. It doesn't matter. If she is a woman and he is a natural man, he knows his place, he knows her place, and he knows that his place is above her. He knows that he is her leader, he is the boss, not she. Right? When you see men that see women as their equal or as their superiors, these are not men. These are broken males. These are males that have been emasculated mentally and spiritually. Now, that's one of the things that the pedestalization of pussy has done to in the African American community. It actually, one, ruins the femininity of women. You know, when you put women on pedestals because of her looks, or call her goddess and things of that nature, and you just pedestalize pussy and all of that stuff, you actually ruin their humility, the natural humility. You ruin their shame. All of these are aspects of natural femininity. So these women start becoming masculine. Also, the pedestalization of pussy, which is matriarchy and goddess worship in Black America, it causes men to break man code, which is God code. What do I mean by that? Okay. Man code. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the Black man is God. In our first degree, in the student enrollment, it asks, who is the original man? Answer, the original man is the Asiatic Black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet Earth, father of civilization, God of the universe. Okay? Now, so when you break man code, you break God code. And the pedestalization of pussy causes men to break man code, which is God code. Now, what are some of the God codes? God, anti-adultery, which is cuckoldry. I'm going to explain that because because of gender equality, people got the wrong idea of what adultery is. It's anti-adultery. It's anti-simping. It's anti a lot of things that dudes do nowadays to break man code or God code that they actually brag about in their on the streets. They brag about in private conversations. They brag about in these R&B songs, etc., etc. For example, okay, man code, God code. I was speaking with a woman earlier this morning, and we were speaking about adulterers, meaning men, adulterous men, meaning men who go around sleeping with other men's women. See, I want y'all fellas to really listen in carefully right now to what I'm about to say, because a lot of you don't really know the detriment of what you're doing when you're going around sleeping with other men's women or even flirting with other men's women, right? You're breaking man code. When you interfere with another man's family, his household, another man's woman. When I say household, I mean his woman, whether his wives, concubines, it doesn't matter. When you interfere in another man's household, you actually interfere with his rulership. You destabilize his rulership. Why? Just for some pussy? Right, because you pedestalize a pussy. You put it above you and above your principles. So yes, you destabilize other men's home. In other words, you actually disturb and disrupt male family leadership by creeping with other men's women. So you can't be talking about you pro-man, pro-masculine, man leads, all that, but you creeping with other men's women. You're being a stone cold hypocrite. Not only are you breaking up the body, you know, the masculine body, meaning the body in terms of the brotherhood, you know, you're causing friction in the brotherhood. Now the men can't trust you. You can't trust each other. And because you can't trust each other, you can't unite. The messenger said that our unity is our greatest weapon, that our unity is greater than an atomic hydrogen bomb, that our unity will solve 95% of our problems. But how could we have unity if you can't have trust? How can you have trust if the brother's going around sleeping with other men's women or trying to creep with other men's women or even flirt with other men's women? I see y'all do that shit online a lot. I'm talking about some of y'all that's on my friends list, some brothers that I know personally that I grew up with that y'all might be listening to this. Let's be honest, you know what I'm saying? Family members, all of that. All y'all men that's listening to this, when you creep with other men's women, not only does it make you beta because you're actually sneaking behind, you're hiding from another man, right? Another man's by another, all the women in the world. Yes, I am pro polygyny 100%. I don't believe a man can even have a number. A man can have as many or any woman that he wants, long as it's not another man's woman or obviously a family member. And the books make this quite clear. So a lot of men that do this, they don't have an abundant mentality or what we call an abundance mentality. So they're focusing on one woman. They're worshiping one woman, which goes against God code, which is man code. And that worship of that one woman, right, and that focus on that one woman, he's not even aware that there are women all around the whole planet. Some that will make him forget all about this one that he's worshiping if he just get on his purpose. Right. But as I was saying, when you do these things, you actually destabilize. You turn the heat down. You actually destabilize male family leadership. And when male family leadership is destabilized, women are out of control because the men are having difficulty controlling their women because of males like you. And then you want to get online and cry about female nature. That's simping to the highest degree. Yes. Not only that, so it breaks down the body collectively, the man body or the male body, the masculine body, but it also breaks down your body individually. Now, I asked this question in a live stream that I did before recently, right? Would you wear another man's used underwear? Most of you will say no. Most of you should say no. If any one of you will say yes, get the hell off this podcast. In fact, delete and block me. You know what I'm saying? If you would say yes to that. So it's safe to say that you all would say no. Good. All right. Now, remember a few years ago, the whole thing about sex dolls came out. And there was a big debate amongst men in the manosphere, which the manosphere has become a joke because that is not something that should even become a debate, right? But you had men that were pro sex dolls and then men who clowned that shit, rightfully so, right? But hypothetically speaking, if you were to buy a sex doll, right? Would you buy a new sex doll? Would you buy a used sex doll? I'm quite certain. I'm not saying you would. This is just a hypothetical situation, fellas. So I'm quite certain that you would say you would buy a new one because you don't want no sex doll that other men unstuck their phalluses in and ejaculated in and left there. You don't want that. Even if they disinfected the doll and wiped it down with bleach or what have you, lemon juice, Clorox, I don't know. They just disinfected it all the way. You wouldn't want no used sex doll, right? Okay, let's take it down to another man's a used woman. Don't you know that sex doll would actually be cleaner? That used sex doll would be cleaner than that previously used woman. Or that used woman, that woman that has a man that's using her every night, every other night, or however often that he does it. When you play the role of side nigga, right, you are actually you are actually more unclean than the man who has sex with a used sex doll. That used sex doll, let's just say it was used, but it was disinfected. Okay, the germs are off. It's still, the idea is still nasty, but that woman's body, you can't disinfect her body from the DNA, the sperm, the residual semen, and all of that stuff that her man leaves in her whenever they have sex, and you decide you want to be second and take the leftovers. You can't disinfect her body of that. Her body doesn't disinfect in that, or disinfect itself from that. In fact, her body actually metabolizes all of that. Her body absorbs all of that. It becomes one with her body. This is why when the scripture says that a woman and a man shall become one flesh, this is how they become one flesh. Women are actually absorbers, and the sperm that doesn't fertilize the ovum, the body metabolizes it. The DNA from the molecules from the semen, the body metabolizes it. It all becomes a part of her anatomy and physiology. Now think about this. So she's literally becoming one flesh with her man. and you're having sex with her. You're creeping. Don't you know, as men, yes, women are absorbers, but we absorb also. The male anatomy has a urethra through which we pull things into our system through our urethra. That's at the base of the penis. The male urethra, we actually pull in. So when we're having sex with a woman, yes, we're releasing and we're giving, but we're also pulling in her copulence. And if that woman is becoming one with her man more and more and more and more, guess what? You are actually pulling in that man. In fact, not only you pulling in that man that she's with, because you being a side nigga, you pulling in every other man whose DNA or molecules or bodies ever metabolize. You're pulling them all in. So guess what that makes you? It makes you the hoe or whoremonger. Yes, it makes you, I call it the semen chaser. This is what we call the low IQ degenerate cuck. I want you brothers that's listening to this to really pay attention to what I'm saying and share this. None of us are perfect. Look, we've all done crazy stuff. I've done crazy stuff in the past out of ignorance. You know what I'm saying? We've all done crazy stuff in the past out of ignorance. But we got to be real with each other today. You know what I'm saying? We got to be real. We can't front like this. So not only are you destabilizing the body of man, meaning the collective male family leadership, by creeping with other men's women, and you're actually enabling her rebellion, and you're enabling her rebellion, her etc. And you're actually, by doing that, you're actually destabilizing the authority he has and the rulership he has and the control he has over his women. But you're also destabilizing your own masculine body. You're taking in the DNA of all the men that she's been with. You're taking in the DNA of the same man that she probably was with earlier that day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you putting your phallus, right, inside the same hole that other man that you hiding from and creeping from. In some instances, you probably even giving him a pound. That makes you even more of a snake. You know what I'm saying? But you putting your phallus in that same hole he puts his in and ejaculates in, and you taking in his essence and his anatomy. You taking in her copulence, which also includes his anatomy, his physiology, his DNA. Yeah, you have been ran through. Yeah, you've been ran through. Men that go around sleeping with other men's women, these are men, those men are being ran through by all the men that she's been with in her past. Or men that go around sleeping with whores and prostitutes. Yeah, I know this is probably burning some of y'all, but this is the truth. You got dudes on my friends list talking about that they're proud to go overseas and pay for sex. Look, I don't have a problem going overseas. I'm gonna go overseas, do the responsible thing, marry a decent woman or marry decent women, get those women under contract. What are you paying a whore for sex for? You're paying a woman that has the DNA, if you want to call it the souls, whatever. But it's actually spirit does, if you want to call it spirit, all it is DNA. You know what I'm saying? It lies in DNA. But a woman that has the DNA or the so-called spirits of all these different men, you're gonna pay for that shit. I would pay to get away from it. That's what I would do. But you got dudes that's proud of that shit and they call it being free. How the fuck is that free? You tell me that. How is that free? When you can go get women who haven't been around the block and you can two, three, four, however many of them you want, get them on the contract and you can have as much fun with those clean women, right? That that as much fun, if not more, than you would have for those dirty women, that temporary fun that you're actually paying for, and you could take those resources and put it into your purpose. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I just want y'all to think about that shit. That's real beta. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all that do that shit, you need to really look at yourselves in the mirror. And if you can actually do it and not feel a conscious, it's because you've been totally emasculated. I'm going to say this also before I move on to the next subject. Uh, Me, I have a good eye. I can read people quite well, especially men. I'm a man myself. I've been around men all my life, different types of men. I can read men quite well. I work with men. from all types of different backgrounds. So I can read men quite well. Men that the men that go around sleeping with whores and falling in love with hoes and sleeping with other men's women. One of the things that I've noticed is that I can see the sodomites just by looking at their face. I can see the sodomite spirit all over them. These men look gay. They look effeminate. You could see the spirit of sodomy in their face. These men are effeminate. These men, a lot of these men, believe it or not, they're either homosexuals outright, or they are homosexuals to themselves, or they're wrestling with it. If you are a man that has sex with whores and sleeps around with other men's women, you are a homosexual, or you're wrestling with it deep down. You're fighting because that sodomite spirit is all in you. And if you want it to go, you need to stop. You need to detox. All right. What else did I? So that's yeah. It's really crazy. I want to go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 54, because we're going to speak about those type of men. They're usually soft and they're very effeminate. Men that go around sleep with other men's women. You listen to the R&B songs and these R&B artists that brag about stuff like that. They're usually gay. They got the sodomite spirit all on them. You know what I'm saying? All in them. They got the earrings and everything else that's effeminate about them. You know what I'm saying? Deuteronomy, what verse was that? 28:54. And after that, we're gonna probably close on this. 28:54. It says, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, listen to him, read that again. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother and toward the wife of his bosom and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave. Yeah, these are these soft cats. You know what I'm saying? These are these adulterers, the cucks, as you would call them. Points that I want to address. Oh, we actually almost finished this within an hour. So this is good. Yeah, we pretty much covered those. Yeah, but going back to the goddesses, like I said earlier, a lot of them develop a god complex due to so many men worshiping and lusting after them. And this God complex a lot of them have, it makes them emotionally and mentally unstable. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it's just, yeah, that's pretty much it that I wanted to say on that. So the choice is yours. If there's anything that I said that was false or that you want to challenge, feel free, put in the comment sections. This is on YouTube. It's on both my Facebook pages. We can discuss it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you want to leave them crazy broads alone, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, matriarchy done got a lot of American black men messed up. I mean, it's to the point where now if a man says he prefers a virgin, right, he's looked at as a pedophile. I'm talking about by supposedly religious people, supposedly righteous people. They look at him as a pedophile. This is how twisted and backwards the devil has made y'all. Even though you call yourself believing in Allah or Jesus or whoever, so even though you call yourself praying, you think that a man is weird because he prefers a virgin. That's actually the natural way. No, you're the weird one. Step back and look at yourself. Matriarchy messed you up. You want to heal from that? Actually, starting June 4th, we have we're instituting a program called Heal, which is healing from alternative lifestyles. Where we can actually give consultation and remedy and offer assistance to those that have been affected by matriarchy, whoredom, cuckoldry, all the things that we're discussing, and that really want to do the right thing. Because you can want to do the right thing, but if you haven't gotten healed, right? Yeah, you can want it for as long as you want it. That doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it. So it actually takes healing. This message and messages like this often inspire people to want to do better. It's either going to make people run away and put their head in the sand or make them want to do better. You know what I'm saying? But that's all I had for now. I touched all the topics I wanted to touch, and I did this under an hour. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and have a wonderful Friday and Shabbat Shalom to everybody that observes the Sabbath and Juma Mubarak to all those observing Juma, and happy Friday. Peace.